Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon when we talk about what to use when, the heat press accessory edition. I'm Allison Zuccaro. For those of you that have joined webinars before and heard my voice, usually you don't see me. Usually we have a PowerPoint presentation, but today we're going a little different. I feel like show and tell is more advantageous when we're talking about different heat printing accessories. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of basic different accessories that we're going to talk about, the basics, the go-to things that you're going to need when starting up in heat printing. For those of you that are already doing heat printing, some of this might be a review, but it's a great reminder. I don't know about you, but my kids just went back to school this week and we're starting to get in a routine. So I think it's just a good time for a tune-up and a reminder for all of us to get back to the basics and remember all the things that we kind of went out the window when Corona hit and everyone came home and was in our space all the time. So I, for one, am celebrating back to school for those parents out there. I think a lot of them are too. Just the routine really helps. So let's talk a little bit about, we're going to talk about cover sheets. We're going to talk about pads and pillows and platens, when to use what cover sheets to use when. We're definitely going to do some heat application throughout, mix it in a little bit to give you some practical experience. So you can see the heat press behind me. I'm going to be using a Fusion today. It's we're going to show you the quick change platens and setting temperatures and everything like that. So first and foremost, one of the biggest accessories that I think every heat press owner should have, whether you're running a Hottronics machine or a different model machine, is the quick slip patent protector. So on this bottom platen on our Hottronics machines, we have this platen protector, and it's a non-slip surface, so it's slippery, and it has elastic corners with nice deep pockets, and it's reinforced seams. Okay, we make these in a variety of different sizes to fit all different sizes of heat presses. There's a couple different reasons why I believe that this one accessory, it's worth its weight in gold. One reason is, first of all heat presses, no matter who the manufacturer is, but we'll specifically focus on Stahls heat presses, have a construction that includes a rubber pad on top and then a metal on the bottom. And they're mounted together with some sort of glue or adhesive, correct? When you're putting and loading different garments on here, sweatshirts, hoodies, jerseys, whatever it is, you are going to be getting some wear and tear on the surfaces that are come in contact with people most frequently. And that's just like anything. So having a quick slip platen protector on the bottom, the lower platen, is going to protect your pad from that wear and tear, number one. Secondly, it's going to give you a clean surface. So because this is slip resistant or non-stick, it cleans up really easily. So if you ever get anything on this lower patent protector with a damp, clean cloth, you can wipe it up, let it dry, and it'll be as good as new. So it's kind of like your pots and pans, your non-stick pots and pans, cleans up very easily. And lastly, and I think the most impressive part about it, is this lower platen is made out of rubber. So when you're trying to put a t-shirt fabric onto it, it's going to stick. And that can be very frustrating when you're doing high volumes, on and off, hundreds of jerseys or hundreds of t-shirts. The quick slip patent protector is exactly what it says. It's non-stick and slippery. So you can slide garments on and off relatively easy without much resistance. So it's definitely going to help load and unload shirts immensely, and you will not be disappointed in how much time and frustration it's going to save you. So we have them in a variety of different sizes, from the 11 by 15 for all of our different size platens, all the way up to the 16 by 20, which is what this is. So your 16 by 20, 16 by 16, 15 by 15. Those are your three most common standard heat press sizes. And so we have them in those sizes, as well as some of the smaller sizes to fit some of the interchangeable platens that we have, the 11 by 15, the sleeve, so on and so forth. So we have a variety of sizes on our website. I know Stacy has links to all the different products that we're going to talk about that she'll be sharing in the chat box. So if at any time as we're talking, you want to visit that page and see what that's all about, you can do that. It'll also be available for you in any replays that we have. So that will be very helpful. So that's the quick slip pad protector. Again, if you don't have one, as long as we have one that fits your heat press, I highly, highly encourage you to get one of those. It's definitely going to help with loading and unloading. The next accessory that we're going to talk about, which is again a staple, are cover sheets. And there's a variety of different cover sheets that you can use for a variety of different things. We're going to talk about three of them, highlight the differences and what to use and why to use them differently. So the first cover sheet that we're going to talk about is Kraft paper. Okay. And the Kraft paper cover sheet is, we have it in two different sizes, 15 by 19 and 18 by 20 are the two different sizes. We sell it in packages of 25 sheets. So it's almost kind of looks like paper. It has a non-stick coating on it. So it won't stick and it won't get attached to any heat transfer vinyl that you're going to be heat printing with it. There's a variety of different reasons why to use Kraft paper, but the biggest reason is Kraft paper is one of those throwaways. So it's relatively inexpensive. You can order it in packs of 25 sheets. You can use both sides of it. There is no right or wrong side. They all work the same. And the nice thing about Kraft paper is if you get something on it, let's say you're heat applying a sublimated garment and some of the dye from the sublimated garment transfers onto the transfer sheet, no worries, toss it in the trash, replace it with the brand new one. Okay, it's not a huge investment. You're not going to be crying over the use of this. The Kraft paper is very, very, very nice for throwaways. Kraft paper is also nice and thin. So if you're heat printing on fabrics that are super thick or designs that need heat penetration, Kraft paper works really well. Kraft paper is also going to give shiny vinyl. So if you're doing any heat transfer vinyl and you're heat printing with Kraft paper cover sheet, it's going to give it a dull or a matte look. So it's going to take away some of the shine and give you a nice dull finish. So those are a variety of different reasons of why to use Kraft paper. Let's talk about, I'll back up a little bit. Let's talk about why to use cover sheets. So cover sheets in general, there's always this old adage out, do I use a cover sheet? Don't I use a cover sheet? It is an extra step. Some people like to reduce steps as much as they can, which I completely understand. Time is money. We're all trying to be profitable. But cover sheets are really important. And if you don't have a habit of using a cover sheet in your applications, I highly encourage you to do that because it's only going to take that one time. That one time when you heat transfer something upside down or you walk away and you're not paying attention or, you just do that inadvertent thing, or maybe the transfers came in wrong and the adhesive's on the wrong side. I mean, that's happened before also, where you end up transferring something to the top of your upper platen of your heat press. When that happens, it's not the end of the world. We can certainly clean it up and get it all cleaned off and be good to go. That's not a problem. But a lot of times that happens and you don't notice it till you heat transfer whatever's on the top of that platen to the next garment. So now you're talking about a ruined garment, and replacement costs of garments could be yours, could be your customers. So it's just a really, really good habit to get into, to use cover sheets for every single application that you do. A lot of the ink on paper transfers, a lot of people don't use cover sheets because they're completely covered with paper. And I completely understand that. And, that would probably be the only time that I would veer. But every other time, I would definitely try to use some sort of cover sheet to protect the upper platen of your machine from getting any residue on it and your garment from getting any residue on it. Okay, so we talked about the Kraft paper. Let's talk about the Teflon. well, the reusable or the non-stick cover sheet. Eons and eons ago, we called this Teflon. It's the same thing. It's a new name, but it is made of the same material that we were talking about for the quick slip lower platen protector. So it's slip resistant. It slides on and off really nice, makes a really great reusable cover sheet. This is something you're going to have for a while. It's a little bit more of an investment. It's going to last for a substantial amount of time. The other nice thing about this reusable cover sheet is that it is non-stick. So if you get something on it, you certainly can wipe it off. It is flexible in the fact that you can slide it in things or out of things. So everything has its use. And this is going to give you more of a shiny finish. So if you want your vinyls to have a shinier look or glossier look to it, you're going to want to use the Teflon, and that will give you a little bit more glossy or shiny look to your heat printing when you're heat printing things. This t-shirt that I was demonstrating for you before, and we're just going to use some of our pre-cut thermofilm numbers, and we're going to heat press that on there using the Kraft paper cover sheet, and you can kind of see how that's going to dull it out, and just to give you some sort of idea. So like I said, I have the Hotronix Fusion. I'm going to dress my platen because I can, because it's a dressable platen with that clearance on the bottom, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay. Another thing, a good habit to get into if you're not already in the habit, is preheating. Anytime you heat press something, we recommend that you preheat. Preheating will do a variety of different things, one of which is remove any moisture or chemical sizing that the garment manufacturers may have used during manufacturing of a product. I'm going to adjust my pressure. That's another tip that you're going to want to make sure that you do all the time. We always want to test pressure with the garment loaded that we're going to be heat printing on. So I'm at a 5, which is medium, so that's good. Notice I used my cover sheet for preheating. That's just because I'm not the only person that uses this press, so I don't know what other people did before me. I'm going to make sure and double check, make sure I don't get anything on my garment. So I preheated with my Kraft paper. I have my temperature set for 330 degrees. Thermofilm is a 6 to 8 second application. Here's my number. This is my number 3. You can see there are 2 different sides to thermofilm, an adhesive side and a vinyl side. The adhesive side is milkier. The vinyl side is shinier and has a little bit more of a texture on it, if you can see that on here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place my number on my garment. And I'm being careful of placement, but probably not too careful. And I'm going to cover my Kraft with my Kraft paper cover sheet and slide my heat press back in. And I'm going to lock it down in place. Like I said, thermofilm is 330 degrees, 6 to 8 seconds on a medium pressure. It is a warm peel. So if we were using the CAD cut version that had a carrier on it, you would peel the carrier off while it's warm. No need to wait for it to cool. We're using the Kraft paper, so I can just pull this off. Set this to the side, and as I pull this up, you can see my number, and it has a little bit of a, we've matted it out. It's not so shiny. So that's the pre-cut, and we have pre-cut numbers and pre-cut letters. This is like, the way a lot of people do pre-aligning, especially with numbers. Just lay it out. It's a very economical way to get numbers onto a garment. Okay, so that is the Kraft paper. We've talked about the use of Kraft paper versus the use of Teflon. Anytime you're doing any loose vinyl, anything like this that you do, you're always, always, always going to want to make sure that you protect your garment with a cover sheet, 100%. And again, get a finish onto this. Okay. So moving along, another cover sheet that we have on the cover sheet page is called a flexible application pad. And I'm going to adjust my temperature a little because this next application that I have to apply goes on at a much lower temperature. So I'm going to start pulling this down while we talk through it a little bit. So the flexible application pad is a rubberized gray pad that will actually help to insulate heat sensitive fabrics. So a lot of people will see me at a trade show or in a booth or at a seminar, and they'll pick this up and they'll say, seen this on the website 1,000 times, I passed it over. What is this for? What do I use it for? And it's like the mystery cover sheet, right? And it's kind of a byproduct of an old product that we used to have and we used to be a requirement, and we've adapted it because it works for other things. So it's a gray, it's rubbery, it has some stretch to it. And really what it does is it uses as an insulator. So if you have synthetic fabrics, acrylics, vegan leather or pleather, any of those faux type products, plastic buttons, seams, or zippers that some manufacturers are using in their garments. If you can't get a zipper or a plastic seam or handle or something off of your heat printing area and you heat print it at a certain temperature, chances are that product's going to melt. And melting is never good because it's ruined garments and you're done. So using a flexible application pad can aid in that. And what it does is it insulates or protects the heat sensitive things from melting underneath the heat. And it is, again, one of those things that you're not going to use daily, but when you need it, you're going to want to have it on hand. You're not going to want to go looking for it. So it's one of those things I definitely recommend having, especially if you want to do some different applications. Speaking of which, we're going to heat apply onto this pad folio. So this is a faux leather, so it's probably some sort of plastic component pad folio, and it would be relatively heat sensitive. If we were to heat print this, chances are we would get some sort of almost like melting box on here. When you have other ones that have layers, that layers actually start to stick together, and that's a good recommendation that you've melted something. So we're going to go ahead and heat apply. We have a Super Tech Opaque, which is a full color digital transfer that we're going to heat print onto this pad folio using the flexible application pad. So we're going to walk through the application. We're going to see how the flexible application pad will insulate it and not melt it or scorch it. And we're going to get a nice, good, clean application. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through that. I'm still waiting for the temperature to come down a little bit. So when we're heat printing on something thick like a pad folio, you know, there's a substantial amount of thickness here. It's not a thin t-shirt or even a sweatshirt. This is substantially more thicker. We're going to have to be really cognizant of pressure. And all of the Hottronics models obviously have pressure where you can adjust it. And I can tell you in this instance, I want the pressure on my machine to be as low as it possibly, I'm going to back this off as high as I can get it, because that's definitely going to have some pressure. I also want to test my pressure with the flexible application pad for two reasons. It's adding thickness, so it's going to change the pressure if I do it without. And I don't want to melt this. So I want to make sure that when I'm testing my pressure, I'm using the flex pad so that I protect the pad folio as well as ensure that I'm getting an accurate pressure readout. So I'm still waiting for it to come down in temperature, but I'm gonna lock it in place or pull it down to see where our pressure is and hopefully draw some of that heat out. So let's see. We want like a medium pressure for this. So I could go a little bit more. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. So we're at a 5, which is great with this pad folio. So the Super Tech Opaque that we're going to heat apply, the application is 300, and you typically do a 5-second application, and then you peel it cold, and then you heat apply it for another 5 seconds in order to get good bond. And that's if we're putting it on a regular garment. So I'm going to place this on here. We're going to do, because we need to get it off of the carrier and onto the pad folio, and we have to get the heat through here, we're going to increase the dwell time. So whenever you're using the flexible application pad with any application, we're going to recommend that you increase your dwell time by 10 seconds. So if it says to heat apply for 5, you're going to do 15. And so Super Teco Peg would be 5 and 5. So essentially you would say 15 and 15. We're not going to do that. We don't need all of that. We're going to do 10, 7 to 10 on the first application, peel the carrier, and then heat it for the full 15 seconds. As long as we can get the carrier off, that's the first step. So I'm going to cover it with the flex pad. We're at 300, which is great. I have my time set for 15. I'm going to let it count down for about half of that at the medium pressure. Yeah, so we're at about 7. Now pull it open. And Super Teco Pig is typically a warm or a hot peel. I'm going to give this just a little second to make sure that it's on there good, because again, we want to make sure that we're getting the carrier off and not the transfer, which is, yeah, let's see, try a different corner. Yeah, see, I didn't give it enough time. So let's hit it again. That's what happens when you play around. We need to make sure we get the right combination. So let's go a little bit longer. You can always tell, start peeling a little bit. When you're dealing with synthetics like this, you want to make sure that you get enough adhesion, but not completely, so that it doesn't ruin it, obviously. You just want to get that carrier off in the first step. So let's see. We'll let this cool a little bit more than we did last time. Wave it in the air a little bit. There we go. Try peeling. There we go. Good. Okay. So now we've got that. And now we're going to, again, like I said, we're going to hit it again with this flexible application pad to seal the deal, so to speak. We should be good to go. There we go. All right. Yeah. So now we have that pad folio already heat printed with the design on it. No scorching. I did this one a little bit earlier. No scorching. We're good to go. So that's how you use a flexible application pad to help insulate products that could potentially be heat sensitive. Ooh, this is hot as I'm holding it. Okay, I think I can see some cues in the chat, so I'm going to take a break for a second and ask Stacy to join us and see if there's any questions that I can answer or help answer if she hasn't been able to, which I'm sure she has been. But Stacy, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a few. Susan wants to know, if we leave the carrier on our vinyl numbers, do we need to use a cover sheet?
I would recommend you always use a cover sheet, even when you're doing vinyl numbers. And again, it really is to protect the garment and the upper platen of your heat press. So I err on the side of caution. You have to know, though, I am the heat cover sheet Gestapo. Everyone at Stahls knows this about me. I have been with the company 25 years. I have a training background. I was in our training team for a variety of different, a long time. And it was cover sheet, cover sheet, cover sheet. Like, that was my mantra. That was my motto. I just, preached and kind of drove that in. So anyone that knows me for any length of time will tell you that I am a cover sheet Gestapo. Like, I really passionately believe that you should use them. I have ruined far too many garments to not, especially when you're in an environment like we are here, where we have a studio or a workroom that multiple people are using at various different times. So if you're the only person ever using your heat press and there's nothing on it, then you probably could be safe not using it. But I would encourage you to use it. So is it necessary? Not necessarily, but I would definitely, it's just insurance, I guess, if you will.
We do have a few more. Janine wants to know, is there a cover sheet that won't change the finish of the vinyl? So if you have a shiny and matte finish that you want to combine.
Depending on what type of vinyl you're using, will depend on what the finish will be, obviously. If you don't want to change the finish of the vinyl, you don't have to hit it with a cover sheet. So in the instance of the thermofilm numbers, remember, we have loose numbers here that don't have a carrier on them. So there's no carrier here. So there's nothing to peel. When you're using the CAD cut vinyl, let's say you're using Premium Plus is matte, super matte. When you peel that carrier off, if you don't want to change that matte, if you're going to hit it again, just use Kraft paper. If you don't want to change it, you don't necessarily have to hit it again. Not every vinyl needs to be hit a second time. You are not going to change the finish on Premium Plus by hitting it with the reusable cover sheet. It's not going to change. It's a matte. There's only some, when you get into like your semi-mattes or your semi-gloss materials, that you can kind of change or take some of that sheen out. So I don't know if there isn't really one cover sheet that just does anything. The answer is just, if you don't want to change it, don't hit it with a different cover sheet.
Okay, and then it looks like we just have a few more before you continue on. Okay. Mary said she's having some problems with the pillow they're using to press objects with her auto clam. Could you kind of troubleshoot what some of those possibilities might be? And she said she's using a sequin bag.
She's using a sequin bag with a pillow. Mary, can you chat us and tell me what you're actually heat printing onto the sequin bag? I'm wondering if it's sublimation. That might be a different ball of wax altogether. We're going to talk about pillows in a minute, and when to use them and when not to use them.
And then while she answers that, a lot of people want to know what your final application process was for the pad folio, since you increased your dwell time, like the temperature, sure, your pressure, and your time that you used.
So it was 300 degrees. The pressure was medium. I wanted to make sure that I used enough pressure, but not too much pressure, because too much pressure can cause melting as well, or some discoloration where the imprint or the platen was. And then I did end up doing 15 seconds for the first application, and then that was able to get me the carrier to peel off. I let it cool, use off for a few seconds. And then when I hit it the second time, I just hit it for half of that. So I had to do the full 15 seconds the first time to get the carrier off, and then about 7 seconds the second time, just to make sure that we have a good application and there was no scorching or anything. The other thing to know about heat printing on products like this is, this is not something that's going to be laundered. These are going to last no problem for a good amount of time. Did we get a response from Mary?
Yep, she said sublimation.
Yeah, so sublimation on a sequins bag with a heat printing pillow. So I don't know what kind of trouble you're having. I'm suspecting maybe you're having some ghosting. If that's the case, the ghosting really will play more into the moving of the transfer. Sorry, Stacy, can you refresh my memory? Was Mary using an auto clam?
Yes, she said she was using an auto clam because originally she wanted to know if there was any reason why you were showing a fusion versus the auto clam today. And I just told her that's what we had in our training room for today's video.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so I'm assuming, making a big assumption here, when you say issues with sublimation on sequin bags with a pillow, you're getting some ghosting. Ghosting is really going to be caused by the shifting of the transfer. And what happens when you use an auto clam, when you're heat printing sublimation transfers, is the top of the machine pops open, and there creates a static barrier between the paper and the press. And when it opens, that paper shifts. And so that can cause some of that ghosting that you're experiencing. So my recommendation is, whenever you're using an auto clam with an auto release, or any machine that has an auto release on it, when you're doing sublimation, is that you use thermotape to tape the transfer down. And I have thermotape to show you, except it's all the way over on the other side of the room. So I will grab it in just a second.
It looks like, sorry, Allison, don't want to interrupt, but it looks like it might be more of a pressure issue because I think she's referring to the knob on top. She wants to know, or she said the pillow is too thick to fit the sequin bag between the plates. How do I lift the top plate to give it more space? And I know you're going to go over pillows with like the different size pillows we have, but I'm wondering if this is more of a pressure issue.
It could potentially be a pressure issue. I'm going to talk about one more thing and then we're going to move on. And if we can't get it, Mary, I will contact you outside of the webinar and we'll see if we can't troubleshoot it differently. But in order to adjust the pressure on your auto clam, you're going to adjust the same knob that we do on the Fusion. So there should be a black knob in the middle of the press. It's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So we're going to back this off to the left and you just keep going and going and going. And like I said before, you're going to want to test your pressure with the sequin bag and the pillow. So put the pillow in the bag or on the bag, put it on the press, and then lock it in place. And you want to get to an even pressure. So if it's so much that you can't close the machine, then it's too much pressure and you need to lefty-loosey it to get back. The other thing to know about pillows, and I have a sleeve pillow here. So the other thing to know about pillows is pillows have, there's a foam piece inside of here and then seams. So they hold air. Like if I push this out, you can sometimes hear the air going out of it. When I'm using a heat press and I lock it in place, especially when I have that pressure down, which I'm going to do, you can sometimes, especially with the big pillows, you can hear the air. You're pushing the air out of it and you're pushing it down. So you may just need to, you don't want to have so much pressure that you're breaking your press, but you definitely may feel that squishing of that pillow out, and that's okay. But you definitely want to make sure that you have an even pressure. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey on adjusting the pressure on your auto clam. Okay. Any other questions relating to the cover sheet?
I think you did a great job covering most of it. The only other question I see that's being asked a lot is, do you have a rule of thumb of how many times you can use Kraft paper sheets before you throw them out?
I don't really have a rule of thumb on that. It's really going to depend on the application. If you're heat printing a polyester that has a lot of dye in it, that's heat sensitive, you're probably going to use it once because the dye is going to transfer onto the cover sheet and you don't want it to get to the next garment. So you're not going to want to use that, over and over and over again. If you're using it on regular vinyl applications and you're not using anything that you're getting gunk or anything like that on the, the cover sheets, you could use them, especially because they're two-sided. I would easily say 50 to 100 presses. Because if you're using Kraft paper on thermofilm, for instance, you will start to see, if you're doing it on thermofilm numbers and the coating of the Kraft paper is wearing off, you will start to see inconsistencies in the finish of the thermofilm. So it almost looks like, I would say like pock marks or areas where there's a high sheen and a low sheen, almost like in circular patterns. That's a good indicator that the coating on your Kraft paper is breaking down and you need to replace the sheet. So it really is going to depend on what the use is, but those are just some key indicators to look for as far as when to replace cover sheets.
Okay. Yep. I think you're good to continue. I'll keep answering the questions.
Thank you. Okay. So we talked about the 3 different cover sheets. We answered a bunch of different cover sheet questions. Let's talk about pillows versus pads and when to use one versus the other. So we have the heat printing pillows, and the heat printing pillows come in a variety of sizes. Heat printing pillows are going to, work really well when you're doing vinyl transfers. So if you're doing anything vinyl related, CAD cut vinyl, any of our specialty vinyls, anything like that, heat printing vinyl, pillows are going to work great. Pillows do really well in a variety of different circumstances for printing onto areas that have button seams or zippers that are going to get in your way. They work really good to help isolate the areas, like in a sleeve application, which is what we're going to use one for today. And what a pillow does, and I had that example here, a pillow is going to allow button seams and zippers to sink into the foam and raise up the area around the issue, let it sink in to give you a nice even surface, okay? So that's going to work really great for, again, 2-button jerseys, button seam zippers. You see a lot of times with when you're doing hockey jerseys or football jerseys that have yokes, because they usually have a seam in the back where the name goes, or they have a V-neck. All of those things can cause inconsistent pressure. And you're going to want to use a pillow to try, or some sort of heat printing accessory to try to alleviate the pressure issues that are going to be caused by that, right? Interchangeable platens work really great when you have them. But when you don't have them, or when you have a heat press that doesn't offer the capacity to have interchangeable platens, these are some other tools that can work for you. Pads, Print Perfect pads, are a little different. We're going to do a heat application of both of these. I'm going to start with the Print Perfect pad because of the application. But Print Perfect pads are really indicative of the same sort of material that the bottom platen of your press is made out of, and it gives you a nice firm surface to do heat printing on. The idea behind a heat or Print Perfect pad is that you're going to elevate the print area. So there's a couple different things to keep in mind about Print Perfect pads versus pillows. Number one, Print Perfect pads you're always going to want to use whenever you're doing a product that is on paper product. So a Transfer Express goof-proof transfer, for instance, or an Ultra Color Soft. We're going to recommend Print Perfect pads over pillows all day long, because a lot of those transfers require rigid enough pressure that we need to have a nice firm surface. Vinyl transfers, like we talked about, the thermofilm, the glitter flake, those can be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to a firm or rigid pressure, and a Teflon pillow or a pillow is going to work perfectly fine, a printing pillow. So that's one of the biggest things. The other thing to keep in mind is pillows are slip resistant because they're nonstick, so they go in and out a lot. So if you're heat printing onto a sleeve where you're going to be putting it in and out multiple times over and over again, a pillow is going to be worth its weight in gold again, because it's going to be slip resistant. This is made out of the same material as the lower platen, so it's going to stick when you're putting things in and out. So you still might have to use it when you're using paper transfers, but definitely a game changer as far as if you're choosing which one that you're going to use, and you can use both. The other thing that's nice about Print Perfect pads is that they are trimmable or cuttable. So a lot of our clients will buy, we have 3 different sizes of these, but they will buy this size, for instance, and let's say they need to do a collar print or a pocket print. They will cut this in half into a size that will slide into the pocket, or just only be for the print area. So it works out really good that you can cut these. Pillows cannot be cut because obviously there's seams and foams inside of there. So they're not as versatile that way as pads will be. Okay. We're going to do a soft opaque transfer using a pad on a zipper front jersey. So I'm going to show you, well, it's not a jersey, it's a hoodie, and it's got this metal zipper here. And this is definitely going to cause some issues for a variety of reasons. Again, we're going to have a button seam, we're going to have a pressure issue here. And then the other thing is this is a metal zipper, which is nice and great quality, but metal zippers can definitely, potentially cause some issues because they are definitely more rigid than a plastic zipper would be. So the nice thing about this is, though, that because we have this left chest Print Perfect pad, which is actually the perfect size for our transfer. And so I like to use Print Perfect pads a lot of times because it gives me a marker of where to place my transfer. And that's really helpful too. So I'm going to unzip this, okay? And I'm going to dress my platen on here. So I'm going to put it on upside down so the zipper is facing me. I'm going to slide this on like I always do. And this would be another opportunity where we could certainly use an interchangeable platen, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but we could definitely use an interchangeable platen. So the nice thing is, because I have this zipper here and I can unzip it, it makes it really easy to use a Print Perfect pad because I can just slide it into place, right? So I'm going to slide it into place, and I know you probably can't see this at the camera angle that we have right now, but there is another seam right here where the garment comes across, and I want to make sure that that Print Perfect pad slides underneath that seam as well, so that it will fall to the outside, and I can make sure that I have a very free, it is seam free, no zippers, no whatnot. Okay, so it's placed in there and I'm good to go. I'm going to place my transfer. Oops. First, I'm going to test my pressure because we need a medium pressure, but now I have a Print Perfect pad in there. So it's definitely going to throw my pressure off. So let's see where my pressure is. Yep, it's going to be way too high. So I'm going to loosen it up. Yep, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So let me just check. Yep. So our soft opaque is 310 degrees, a medium pressure for 15 seconds, and it's a hot peel. So I am only at 300. So I'm going to up this a little bit. Should have done this before, but it should recover pretty quick. Oops. All right. There we go. See, 309. Okay. So I'm going to place my transfer onto my garment, hopefully well. Cover it with my cover sheet, lock it into place. And then this is a 15-second application, and it's a hot peel with a medium pressure. And this is the soft opaque, which is a full color digital transfer. It was a little early there on the draw, but I think we should be good. Do that. This is going to be a warm peel. Yep, hot, nice hot peel. And we'll take this off, get rid of this. See, and you can see the transfer. So we've got the soft opaque, and we didn't have to worry about that zipper. We didn't melt it. We didn't have any pressure issues. And we have a nice transfer. Okay, so that's a good example of when to use a pillow. Left chest is, or a pad. Left chest is one of the times that I love, love, love using pads. So I didn't even do too bad on the left chest placement. Probably a little low, but all right. So let's show you a pillow now. And I have a sleeve application that we're going to do pillow on. And we're going to use glitter flake. So for those of you that don't know, glitter flake is that uber shiny, glittery, glitzy, popular with the young ladies. All right. And we're going to use the sleeve pillow. So we've talked about the sleeve pillow a few different times. Printing on sleeves is a really great way to add some profit to a garment. More placements, more different unique placements, the more profitability that you can get. And printing on sleeves is relatively easy, especially with vinyl. So I'm just going to take my pillow and I can slide it right inside. And this is a youth hoodie. You could use the pillow to print on the front of the youth hoodie as well, above the pocket. And the nice thing, what I really love about using pillows or sleeve pillows to print on sleeves is, first of all, it gives me this really nice area to register to. And then most of the time, your garment manufacturers, when they size them and fold them up, iron them out, you have this nice seam right down the middle, which a lot of times is center. Not always, but a lot of times. So that helps with placement. So I have the pillow in here. What I'm going to do first is test the pressure, because I want to make sure that I'm using the right amount of pressure now that I'm adding a pillow. So we went from a pad to a pillow and a different garment all in all. So I've got my cover sheet on. I have my garment in. I'm going to lock this in place. Probably can go a little bit higher with pressure. Okay, let's try that again. It was a little high. Oops, lost my cover sheet. Sorry. Cover sheet slid. Okay, let's do this again. Make sure it's covered. Lock it in place. Okay. All the way back. Yep. All right, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so I've got my pillow in my sleeve. I'm going to place my glitter flake center down the sleeve. Let's see if this is on the left sleeve, I think. You know, there's that how right reading, wrong reading, how does it go, how high, all those fun things. But we want to put it close to the shoulder. So underneath like the armpits, just below the armpits is where we want it to start. Center it, cover it up. We're going to lock it in place and we're going to heat apply the glitter flake. You could hear that time. I don't know if you could hear it, but I could hear the air going out of the pillow. It's 10 seconds. Remove the carrier. Warm peel. And then the nice thing again, like I said, is those pillows go in and out. So I'll slide it out relatively easily. And now I have a sleeve print down the sleeve of glitter flake. So another good use of a accessory, if you will. Okay, so we've talked about pads, we've talked about pillows, we talked about cover sheets. Oh, platens. Platens is the last thing. Stacy we talked about everything that we've talked about so far: heat printing pillows, heat printing pads, cover sheets. We have a heat printing accessory kit. So if you don't have some of these accessories, or you're just getting started and you think, you know, you need to get some of these things, I highly recommend that you buy the heat printing accessory kit. It comes with a cover, you get a print perfect pad, you get a print pillow with it, you get a Kraft paper, a Teflon sheet, and the flexible application pad. So, and it's already kitted up for you. So it's just a good starter way to go. I think it comes with a heat eraser too. So that's a great option for you. The last thing that we're going to talk about as far as accessories goes for heat application is platens and when to use a platen. And we're going to talk about two different kinds of platens. We have standard platens, and then we have the power platens, which are the heated lower platens. The heated lower platens work with our clam style machines and our air equipment. And I do not have one of those in the training room today. I have the Fusion. So for the power platens, we have a video that we're going to show you toward the end. If you haven't seen them already, we're going to see that and you'll see it. But we'll talk about the two different versions. So interchangeable platens is the way to go. Whenever you can, when the investment will allow you to, when the time will allow you to, a platen is definitely the way to go. We have a variety of different size platens. All of our Hottronics equipment comes with the quick change lower platen. So I'm going to pull this one out so you can see it. If I pull it out too far, you can't see it. But back here on the side, there's a lever that we pull out. It's a quick change. And they all have a post on them. And you do that, and then you can pop this platen out. So I'm going to pull this out. See, the post. Okay, and now I'm good to go. Okay. I'm going to utilize this, which is 11, I think it's a 6x10 or an 8x10. It's great for tote bags, which is what I'm actually going to be heat printing. It's good for youth. It's an all around good size for a variety of different things, but you can see this has the same post as the large one does, and it fits right inside this hole. And I'm going to put it landscape wise because the bag I'm going to print is going to fit on here perfectly. And I'm going to lock the pin in place, and now I'm good with interchangeable platens. So platens are great when you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So every heat press, shirt press comes with a standard size bottom plan and a standard size top plan. The Hotronix Fusion is a 16x20. We have auto clams that are 16x20, 16x16, 15x15, all different sizes is your base. When you're heat printing onto things, tote bags, even left chest, if it's a lot of something that you do a lot of the same decoration over and over and over again, the same sort of location, even if the garments are different, it's definitely going to be advantageous to invest in different size platens and have them, because it will make the job so much easier if you have to do multiple. So, and we're going to heat apply onto a drawstring bag. I'm going to show you this. So here's this drawstring bag that we have, right? And so it has this drawstring. It's definitely going to throw some pressure issues here. We have these handles that are on, and the space is a little bit, it could be a little bit small. You've got a big seam here. You've got another seam down here. So, and, these are really popular. So chances are we're going to decorate, a large amount of these. When you have an interchangeable platen on a Fusion or on an auto clam, it makes the space very easy for you to print. So I can slide this bag on relatively easy. It's going to give me a nice space. Again, I can see, it gives me a nice, almost an alignment tool. And I'm going to make sure that I'm using the right application, which I'm going to reduce this down a little bit more. Because we're going to do the silicone die block, which goes on at 302. So I'm going to get this down a little bit more. All right. So while that's coming down, so the interchangeable platens are really great for those types of uses. Now, we have a variety of different sizes and some specialty platens. So let's talk about those a little bit while this is coming down. We have a 7-inch round. The 7-inch round is perfect for the end of gym bags or those, tote bags, the round ones that we've had around forever. But the 7-inch round is really good for even the front of youth, hoodies or t-shirts. 7 inches is perfect. You can use it on, I've seen other customers use it on like coolers when they're printing the front of coolers or even the front of tote bags in between handles. A lot of times the 7-inch round will work. We have the 8x10, the 6x10, which is going to be the same shape as what we have here. I'm pretty sure this is the 6x10. Great for tote bags, good for youth, even toddler onesie garments. We have a 6x20, which is a sleeve and leg. So it's very similar to the size and shape of the pillow that we use to print on the sleeve. So it's a sleeve and leg, and that's going to work really good for that. A 4x4, which this would be the one that I would have for certain, because it's really going to be great for your left chest prints. So if you need to print on a left chest, 4x4 is plenty of space, and it's definitely going to isolate that area, and it's going to replace everything that we've talked about today. You're not going to need the pillows. You're not going to need the print perfect pads. You'll still need your cover sheets, but your platen is definitely going to replace that. And again, 4x4 left chest is a very, very common size. We also have specialty applications. So we have a platen designed to print on the side of shoes that will fit our machine equipment. We have a platen designed to print on those can coolers, and it has like little arms where you can slide the neoprene can coolers on and print 6 or 8 at a time. I think there's 4 on each side. So you can definitely increase your productivity there. We also have one that will print on the underside of a hat bill. So you put the hat, slide it in upside down, and it hangs there, and you can print on the other side. And this is all with a standard heat press. So there's definitely a lot of options out there. Would I say go out and buy every single one of them? No. but you're going to have a job at one point that's going to warrant you to purchase one of those, and you can purchase it and add to your arsenal of tools that you can use. And again, these are all just tips and tricks to help you make you more profitable and more efficient when you're doing heat printing work. Okay, so we're getting there. Let's test the pressure on here, and then we'll do this silicone heat application with this interchangeable platen. Let's see. Okay, so even when you change platens, you need to adjust pressure. So we're gonna make this pressure heavier because it was way too light. Now I went a little too far. Guess I don't know my own strength sometimes. There we go. So we're at a medium. Perfect. Okay. All right. So we have this really cool cat that we're going to put onto this bag, which is going to look really cool. Hopefully I can get it straight. This bag has definitely got some sort of really cool dye and color to it. So the silicone dye block is going to work really good because it's going to make sure that we don't have any dye migration because it has that blocking capacity to it. But it also gives a nice kind of raised or elevated texture or feel. So the silicone dye block application is 302 degrees for 10 to 15 seconds on a medium pressure, and it is a cold peel. So I have it set at 302.15, and it is a medium pressure. So I'm going to lock it in place and let it count down. And then before I peel it, I'm going to let it totally cool completely. While we're doing that, I'm going to ask Stacy if she has any other questions that we can talk about before we go on to the power plan and the video. So we're going to let this cool, and Stacy, you can start shooting me questions.
Yep. So it looks like there's one that Susan had asked earlier. She wants to know more about upper platen covers. Should we be using those?
Upper platen covers, you can use them for various things. There are some things you don't want to use them for. So there are some products that require a very specific heat, and anything that we're talking about, like using print perfect pads on. So any of the paper transfers, color, the goof proof, that sort of thing, I would veer away from using the upper platen covers because the makeup and the manufacturing of those products has a adhesive coating on that top carrier sheet that needs to get the heat through in order to get a good adherence. So a lot of clients that I have that use upper platen covers are customers that are using the heat presses for like direct to garment pre-treating or things like that. And they're using that upper platen cover to protect the upper platen of the garment. So I'm not saying don't use it ever. I'm just saying if you're going to be doing a lot of variables where you're going to be doing a lot of different applications, I don't think keeping the upper platen cover on there all the time 24/7 is the best practice, because there are some instances where it could definitely be a hindrance versus a help.
And it looks like David just asked a really good question. He wants to know, on the drawstring bag that you're using right now, why didn't you use the flexible application pad, since it looks like the drawstring bag is probably nylon?
Actually, this drawstring bag is polyester, but you could use the flexible application pad if I needed to protect it, but I didn't have to because I'm doing silicone, which is a lower temperature application. And I had the interchangeable platen, which really got rid of the products that would have been heat sensitive, like the drawstring and the plastic grommets. So I eliminated those by using the interchangeable platen. So there is no right or wrong to any of these. There are recommendations, and it is very possible that all of the accessories that we've talked about today could be applicable in this application. I just used this one to highlight a different use of it and to show you. So we could have used a Print Perfect pad. We could have used a pillow. There's a variety of different things that we could have used in this application. But I am peeling off the silicone, and it's a cold peel, and it looks great. Oh, look at that. Perfect. So we've got a really nice application on this bag. So, and in answer to the question about the nylon, a lot of people, you know, don't give enough credit to nylon, think it's super, super sensitive. So it does have some sensitivity to it, but it's not as heat sensitive as a lot of people want to make it out to be. So I wouldn't worry about using a flexible application pad when heat printing on nylon. Nylon is not a melter. When we talk about melter, we're talking about acrylic, things that have plastic in them is when you're going to worry about melting. So that bag came out really good, actually. Okay, any other questions, Stacy?
Nope, it looks like I had answered everything else up to this point.
You are amazing. So,
thanks.
I'm going to talk about the power platens versus the standard interchangeable platens. And then Stacy's going to launch a video. After that video, it's a video that's on our website, so you can feel free to stay and watch it, or, you know, she'll send a link and you can get it on the website. After the video, we are finished. We've covered everything that we need to. So I will hang out for a little while, a few minutes after, just to ask any questions that you may have. But I just want to let you know, if you watch that video and you don't have any more questions, you know, definitely feel free to go. I know we're over our 1 hour time already, so I just want to put that out there. So power platens are heated lower platens that connect to our Hottronics autoclam and our air model pieces of equipment. And I don't have an autoclam in here, so that's why I can't demonstrate it for you. But the advantages of lower heat are, there's a ton of them, but I'm gonna give you a high level. So the power platens come with a controller, and they're interchangeable, so they have different sizes. So one controller, different size platens. You hook the controller up to the platen and set the temperature. What you're doing by heating from the bottom is twofold. One, for products that are heat sensitive, so polyesters and synthetics that have a tendency to melt or scorch when heat printing, we can reduce the top heat by applying bottom heat. So the idea is we're going to increase the heat on the bottom. So let's say we'll put the heat on the bottom to 320. And we're going to take the top heat of the press and pull it down to under 300. So 280, usually 290 is usually about where most applications fall. What that does is it creates a heat printing sandwich. So by heat printing and applying heat from the bottom and the top, we're getting that sandwich effect in there. So we're still getting a good durable application for products without driving that hot heat down and scorching or burning the actual sensitive fabrics. It also is going to help you by reducing dwell times. So because if you get to a low enough temperature that you can heat from the top, you're going to have to let it sit for a very long time in order to get the heat to penetrate all the way through. So the heated lower platens work really, really, really great. So if you're into sporting goods and you're doing any sort of or any volume of synthetics, polyesters, tri-blends, anything that is very, very heat sensitive, the power platens are definitely going to help you. And we have a ton of different products that can be applied using the power platens, and we give application instructions on our products on our website using the power platens. So it will definitely help. The other way to use a power platen and where it can be definitely an advantage is when you're heat applying your dimensional and your textured emblems. So when we're heat applying embroidery patches, leather patches, the flex style product, that's that molded sort of products, those products are so thick that in order to heat them from the top down, you have to put the temperature to a very high heat, so 365 degrees, and then the dwell time of 30 to 60 seconds in order to drive that all the way through. I'm here to tell you that anything that you heat apply that has any polyester content in it at 365 for 30 to 60 seconds is going to scorch and have a scorch mark on it. So by employing the heated lower platens or the power platens, again, you're doing that heat printing sandwich. So we're going to drive up the bottom heat. We're going to turn the bottom heat up to 320, and we're going to drive down the top heat to under 300, and we're going to heat apply it for 30 seconds. So if you do have any scorching with this methodology, it's going to be on the inside of the garment, not on the outside. So we're definitely moving, and we're moving a lot toward making sure that we have products that can be applied with both top and bottom heat and getting the proper application instructions relevant for that. So this video that you're going to see is a video that's on our website, and it's actually Josh, and he's basically demoing the power platen, the controller, and a 4x4, and he's actually going to heat apply a flex style using the two. And it's a great video because it shows top and bottom. It's got a good camera angle, so you can definitely see the advantages of using the power platen versus just using a standard platen. But that will give you an idea of when you want to start thinking about using bottom heat. And it's definitely a trend that we're seeing. And I don't think polyesters are going away anytime soon. So I think the more the market goes that way, the more it's going to be a good investment to get into a power platen. So I'm going to turn off my camera so that Stacy can launch the video, and then I will come back when the video is over and again answer any other questions that we have outlined.
Apparel with your heat press, or maybe you're having a tough time applying dimensional logos and embroidered patches. We have a new product. It's called the Hotronix Power Platen, and it heats apparel from the inside out, reducing the scorch mark and also making it possible to apply dimensional logos. Now, this family of products comes in 4 different sizes. We have a 16 by 20 platen, an 11 by 15 platen, a 6 by 20, and also a 6 by 6 that I already have loaded on the heat press. Let me show you how this product works. Hotronix Power Platen has a pin registration system that allows it to drop in to a lot of the Hotronix heat presses, including the Stahls Max series, the Auto Clam series, and the Air Fusion models. Lock it into place and clamp the lever. Now, each power platen comes with its own cable that can be connected to the power platen control board. The power platen control board is adjustable on the temperature. I have it set for 300 degrees for my application. Now, with the power platen loaded, I'm going to load my item onto the press. In this case, I'm going to hit a shoulder placement on this already decorated hooded sweatshirt that's been customized with CAD cut glitter flake. The reason I'm using the power platen for this application is because I'd like to add a dimensional logo. And so I'm using our Flex Style product. Flex Style comes just like this. We send you the transfer from your uploaded art on Stahls.com. You can position your design into place. There's no need for a preheat since the power platen is heating from underneath the garment. I cover it with my special Flex Style pad, and then I complete the application. Now, if you were applying with top heat only, Flex Style would take 360 degrees of heat. Because I'm using the power platen, the top heat only requires 200 degrees, and my bottom heat is at 300 degrees. I'm also able to reduce the dwell time from a normal dwell time of 21 seconds to just 12 seconds. So I'll push 12 seconds on my tabletop air fusion control board, accept the setting, and I'm at 20 psi since I'm using the smaller platen, the 6 by 6 inch size. Press both buttons to lock it down. It applies your logo. So I'm creating a heat sandwich. I'm getting the top heat that's normal for any heat press, but I have the power platen heating from underneath the garment to get to the adhesive of that dimensional logo a lot quicker. After it's been applied, remove the carrier, and I have a completed result. So very quick and very easy to apply product with the power platen. Now, this is a hoodie that may scorch up at that 360 degree application, but because I've applied it on the power platen, you see no marking. So it gives you a real easy way to apply dimensional logos.
So that was a great example of the power platen in use, using it for dimensional emblems. Again, there's a ton of other applications there also, but I thought it was a good, because we've done a lot of other applications to see the dimensional logo and when to use the power platen. You could see the controller, they were using the air fusion. So that just had a lot of really good information in there. So let's see, Stacy, do we have any other questions that we need to answer before we wrap up?
Yep, just one more. Kathy wants to know, how does the power platen work with sublimation? I have a lot of shine when pressing polyester shirts, even if I use pillows.
That is a great question. Have not had a lot of experience using the lower heat with sublimation transfers. So I don't have a really good answer for that question. I know there are some testing and experiments that we've done. So let me reach out and find out exactly what kind of testing that we have done and where we're at. I know that we have had success with it. I just don't know what those settings would be. So that would be something that I would like to research a little bit. And I can get your contact information from the webinar, and I will definitely gather some details that are a little bit more specific and send you an email. But yes, I do know it will work. I just don't know what the actual settings are where we land in. So very good question though. Okay, so we don't have any other questions. Thank you all for joining me today. Thank you so much for being patient as I figure this live situation out, and thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. Hopefully everyone took away something, and hopefully it was more engaging actually seeing some actual products heat applied versus just our standard outline that we normally do. So thank you very much, and definitely look forward to seeing you again very soon. Have a wonderful day.